Okay, welcome to the webinar about effective resource management and the 6 levels, or maybe 5 levels of maturity. Let's see what we can expect walking you through resource management as we see it in Projectum. First of all, my name is Jacob. I've been working with Projectum now for 10 years, working with resource management for almost 20 years in businesses outside Projectum. It was before at the Lego Group, and it will also knowledge that I'll bring to you today from my time at the Danfoss Group in Europe. So first of all, welcome, and let's kick it off. Just for your information, we will be monitoring the chat. Please put in any question as you go along in the chat, and then at the end we will look through the chat and look through the questions and take a Q&A session on it. So again, welcome, and let's kick it off. First of all, resource management. Everyone knows something about resource management, and resource management can be so many different things. First of all, what we bring to you today is a mix of what we call Projectum best practice. So what we in Projectum has learned over the last 20 years as industry leader within project portfolio management practices. We will also be looking into the PPM best practices that is out there. So in terms of resource management, definitely Resource Management Institute. PMI has some best practices around resource management. And then you as a customer, you are at some maturity level. Maybe you are advanced and really advanced in excelling in resource management. Maybe you just started the journey of resource management. In between, we have good practices, and that will be the lump sum of you as a mature customer or non-mature customer, and then the best practices is out there together with the knowledge and expertise of Projectum. First of all, I will take you through the 6 levels of resource management. Because when I talk with clients, we talk about resource management from many different perspectives. Often when we talk with management, they care about portfolio level resource management. We're talking with the CXO, we're talking with the PMO, with the portfolio management office, and very, very often we discuss resource management from the perspective of how many employees do we need next year to fulfill the resource management challenges that we are facing. That might be resources from different departments that we need to allocate to projects. But we are talking high level. We are talking about number of employees, headcounts, hours, FTEs, rather than we are talking about very detailed. Today you will see that we will manage the portfolio level resource management in Power PPM from Projectum and in our What If simulation tool. When we talk with program officers or with a program manager, then when we talk about resource management at program level, often we have resources allocated to different sub-projects to one program. So as a program manager, I can manage my program and I can move resources between one project to another project because I have resources allocated to my program. This will be available in Power PPM and in the Team Planner tool. At team level, we have a resource planner. We have a head of a department. I could be responsible for all developers in a company, my department, and talking about team level resource management, I care about project and resources allocated to projects, but I definitely also concerned about when my people work on non-project related work. So as a team manager, I will actually balance my resources between resource management for projects, but also non-project related activities. Level 4, focusing on project level. So as a project manager, I care about resources in my project. I can do a project schedule. I can allocate people to a project schedule. But at project level, we don't talk about task level. We talk more about project level, that I need these roles and those resources for my project over the next 3-4 months. And probably we are talking about hours per month rather than hours per day per task. But we could also go down to the task level. At task level, as a project manager, I have a project schedule. I create one or more tasks in my project, and I need to allocate Jacob to a task because he needs to fulfill the duty of that task. That will be available in the Power PPM tool. And last, individual level. As an individual in a company, resource management for me is what should I do tomorrow? What is the plan for me? What projects should I work on? And what non-project related work? That might also be that I have pushed forward some vacation to my manager, and it needs to be taken care of as a manager planning my individuals. So those 6 levels of resource management should be considered very carefully what you actually want to achieve. Are you concerned about resources at company level? You go more for level 1. If you're concerned about what your people are doing tomorrow, you go more for level 6. Majority of all customers that we talk with and we do an implementation of is typically more focused around level 3 and level 4. Project manager need resources, team manager has resources, and we need to find the right mix of people to the right projects. But to go to level 3 and 4, we could start talking about maturity levels, because at some point you need to start somewhere. Typically, a customer journey will be up to 3 years to implement all 6 levels of resource management. And very, very often you start with the more simple approach of resource management. So let me take you through different maturity levels of resource management. I'm not saying it's easy, but typically if you want to start easily with resource management, you'll be focusing on project level resource management, task level resource management, and individual resource management. Who will work on what task? What is the project? And what kind of task should be created and fulfilled by individual resources? To start with level 4, 5, and 6 of the resource management, we have put up level 1 and level 2 maturity of resource management. I will go through that in a second. Basically, what this level 1 and level 2 is all about is focusing on resources that are related to projects, and actually without a very advanced process to allocate people. Typically, you call a manager, you get people, you allocate them to tasks, but you don't have this really formal. It's more driven by project managers needing resources. When we talk about level 1, 2, and 3, we are talking about more advanced resource management, also more difficult to implement in an organization. Level 3, level 4, and level 5 are focusing on, do we have the right people? Who are they? Should they work on projects? Should they work on non-project related work? What are the vacation plans? If they are working and allocated to technical support, as an example, it will bring down the availability for projects. So certainly now we have a more advanced resource management process where we request people and someone needs to allocate them. But before they allocate, they will actually start balancing the individual department, the individual non-project related work, so that the project will get the right people for the right job if we have availability. So leaving the 6 levels of resource management, focusing now on the levels of maturity, the 5 maturity steps. Let's start with level 1 and level 2. Level 1, resource management, is all about project demand. Before doing any resource management at all, we need to know what to work on. So level 1 will focus on a project. I'm a project manager. I need to understand what resources are needed for my project to be fulfilled. And I need to create some kind of project schedule that will define some kind of task structure to identify who should work on what. Level 2 will focusing on capacity management part of it. So we also need to allocate some people. So we need some kind of allocation process for projects, and none for not project related work, but focusing on projects. So basically what level 1 and level 2 will fulfill is a project will identify work in a project schedule. It will ask for resources. And typically you have a more informal process where you allocate people. I've seen people meeting at a coffee station in the company asking a manager, hey, can I have Jacob for my project? And it will be confirmed, yes, you can have him. And as a project manager, I go back to my tool and I say, okay, Jacob is working on the tool. And now Jacob can see his task. It's not really requesting stuff and then allocating it. It's more focused by project and do a documentation of what is actually in the project and who is working in the project. We're also only focusing on capacity model for project resources. That means that if Jacob works 100% his time in a company, maybe I will reduce Jacob's time to 80% available for projects. And then I don't care about the rest 20%. It's only capacity related to projects that we actually monitor. A very, very simple process for this could be, I'm a requester, typically a project manager. I will request some resources. It could be on a generic level. So I want a developer, I want a consultant. And then someone will do an allocation. Sometimes the allocator is the same person as the requester at level 1 and level 2. So basically the project manager is both the requester and the allocator. And the arrow that goes between the two swim lanes is actually a telephone call. It could be a coffee station meeting where you actually discuss with a line manager about availability and who to work on. So what we could do now is that I want to do a demo in Power PPM focusing on level 1 and level 2. And then afterwards, we will look at level 3, 4, and 5 and also do a demo of that. First of all, welcome to Power PPM. Power PPM is an app developed by Projectum. It's a PPM tool, and it actually handles both project portfolio programs as well as resource management. Today, we will not focus on anything else than projects and resources in Power PPM. So first of all, what I need to create a project that I can do some resource management on. To create a project in Power PPM, I could go to my chat, a virtual chat assistant, and ask to create a project. I will be supported directly by the chat to create the project. In this case, we will do a webinar level 1 to 2, resource management. It will ask for some metadata to the project. It will be a demo. I could also provide it with a start date, with an end date, with a budget, etc. But based on the master data, the Power PPM has created a project that will serve me as a project manager to start do this resource management exercise. First of all, we are looking at the front page of the project. And on the front page of my project, I will now start identifying and go into planning mode. So maybe the system will ask me for some high-level master data. That could be a benefit, etc. But I will go into the planning mode. And in the planning mode, I could set up a start date and I could set up a finish date for my project. At this point, I need to start define the work in my project. Well, to create a project schedule in Power PPM, I can start from many different perspectives. In this case, I could start from very scratch. I could help the support of AI, or I could actually start with a project schedule template. Actually, I have a template here that collects and has a lot of information about work breakdown structure of task, but it also holds information about resources needed for this project. So this could actually be a best practice template. But let me just start from very scratch and focusing on a very, very simple step. I have my project, and in my project, I can create task. So let me just create a task here that will be work. It has automatically a duration of 30 days. I can manage the duration here, and I can turn on and off my resource heat map. So first of all, what is important is that if I double click my task where I define the work, I could go in and assign different users. So I could start by looking into the catalog of the resources. In this case, I've set up in this demo environment that I have consultancy, I have marketing people, I have people that are belonging to the consultancy team. And you can also see it has been broken down to individual teams where I can actually ask for resources. So this is one way that I can work with resources. I can also search for developers, and then I will find the developer pool. In this case, let's go with the consultancy pool, and I can define that those people need to work 10 hours on this task. If I turn on my resource heat map, full screen experience, I can now see that here there is a workload identified for 10 hours. Typically in this level 1 and level 2 of resource management, we don't request people and we don't allocate them in a formal process. That's typically around level 3 and level 4 we do it. So today in this level 1 and level 2 demo, I will only focusing on putting in the demand on the task, and I could also, by the coffee station, ask the line manager who should work on it, and then maybe the line manager or resource planner will tell, yes, you can have Jacob, and Jacob should work 10 hours on the project. Then I can do an allocation of Jacob, but it has actually not been allocated as a formal process. You will see that later on when I go into a more formal process. I can see who and what people are actually allocated based on the request. Now, if Jacob should work on the task, Jacob could easily go to his task board, and in Power PPM, under the assignments, it will be possible for Jacob now to identify this work. I can drag it into done. And when I have completed my work, I could put in 9 hours of actual work to the task. And if I go back to the project and work as a project manager, I will now see that Jacob has been working with actual work 9 hours based on the workload that was defined. So this is very, very simple, a task structure where you create a project, you define some task, and you allocate either generic resources or named resources directly on task level without a more formal process. Well, from the start, I also told you that I could create based on templates. So let me just create another project where I use a project template and a schedule template that actually contains resource management information. So let me create a project. The project will be webinar level 1 to 2, second try. Still a demo, and the Power PPM will now create this project that serves for me in the demo. I will receive a link. When I click the link, I will be at the front page of this project. Well, let's start a project that has defined a lot of resource need based on best practices. In this case, you can see behind the project is quite empty. There's no task at all, but I could actually go and have created, or the PMO could create some project templates that actually has the information of best practices and the resources needed for this kind of project. So by clicking the template, I will import all data. It will be task data, it will be phases, stages, milestone, whatever, but it will also put in resource management information. So if you look at the very top, I can see at level 0, my project, the breakdown structure, and in my breakdown structure, I can identify in the resource column, there's already resource management information. Those resource management information is highlighted down in the heat map below, where I actually can see the demand. So with new projects, kicking them in based on a template, in less than 1 minute, I can actually put demand data into the system that can help me at the portfolio level to understand, do we have those people available based on the capacity reserved for projects only? To do this match, I could take the project, I could go to the portfolio, and I could link this project to a portfolio. Once I link the project to the portfolio, the demand data for resources needed will roll up to portfolio level. And at portfolio level, I have a lot of projects already linked in. So all those projects, they have some resources. Maybe some of the projects are running, some of them are pipeline projects. But if I go to my roadmap of my portfolio, you will see all the projects that has been timed for this portfolio. And if I turn on the resource heat map, you will also see the rolled up data and the resource bottlenecks based on the demand. You will be seeing it from an individual perspective because some running project has individuals. And you can also see the team resources, the generic resources that they will be booked. For instance, the project manager pool has a very, very high load. in 24-25. And yes, you can of course go all the way down to weeks, days, quarters. So this is just to make it very simple, that I can identify that I have reached the capacity of the project managers. The capacity has been set to be project capacity only. So I don't care about resources working on technical support, vacation, etc. Everything has been deducted in a very, very simple capacity model that 80% of all people or of individuals will have a project capacity. Some department, it might be 70%, other departments, 40%. So level 1 and level 2 roll up to portfolio management, where we look at demand data. I can still allocate people and I can get an overview like this. When we talk about reports at level 1 and level 2, it will be possible to actually look at resource management data in Power BI. At Projectum, we have created Power Hub, and Power Hub comes with some out-of-the-box resource management reports. In this case here, you see a resource management report for the entire company. Right now, I have the dotted blue line, which is my capacity available for projects. And I can see the demand as bar down that actually is the request from each of the templates I just added. So it will be possible to create different Power BI reports of your needs to actually give that transparency to demand. But also if you allocate directly on task level, of course, you could go down to individual level and also see who should work on what. So let me conclude that with the level 1 and level 2 demo. And let's go back to PowerPoint and start look at what we call enterprise resource management at level 3 and level 4. Well, at level 3, we will focus more on the full capacity model. So one thing is that we will implement a more formal process where we do a capacity review. We will look at all the demand. We will prioritize all the demand, but we will also start look at the capacity. In this case, the capacity model will be extended to be more than only project related. So we will also focus on non-project related. So this full capacity model will focus on vacation. We will deduct vacation. Maybe each individual has a calendar. 4th of July in US will be closed down, so it will give more or less capacity based on individual calendars. So our capacity model is much more nuanced, and it will actually serve for a more precise picture. We could also focus on skills. Before you saw I had a project manager as a generic role, but maybe the skill sets will be agile project manager, agile coach, waterfall project manager. So we could also start having skills inventory where we will focusing on more detailed setup of the primary role and the skills. The process around the more advanced enterprise resource management could look like this. First of all, we need a more formal process. We will move away by having a chat over the coffee and just go as a project manager and do our own allocation. Basically, what we will do now is that we will define that every week project managers will send a request to the line organization, and every week the line organization will look at the entire demand for that department, for each department, and then they will do an evaluation and they will allocate back to the project managers. And that could go with a different frequency. Some companies, they do it every week. In Projectum, we do it every Friday, but it could also be every month that you look into it. Maybe you also go down the route of defining generic roles more nuanced with skill sets. But most important here is actually how you treat the capacity. So you need to define the capacity model. If vacation should be a part of the capacity model, if technical training, if certification, whatever that is non-project related should be a part of the capacity model, because it can be maintained in the system to have a very precise picture of it. By the end of the day, we will now implement a formal process where I request something as a project manager, and a line manager, a resource planner will do a allocation of it. Level 4. At this point, we will go away from only looking at one department fulfilling the role and the need and demand of one project. We will go all the way to enterprise resource management because now we have multiple departments. It will be probably all departments within the IT department. So it will be developers, a consultancy, as an example. If you are within pharma, you might have a business unit, and within the entire business unit, you have a lot of different roles that you need to manage resources on. So now we will focus on demand and capacity balancing, where each department should take care of the total picture, but still serve their own picture. For that, we have a little drawing here that shows how it can be done from a process perspective. Every month, you need to do a capacity review by department. So in my department, I will look at all incoming requests, I will review it, and I will understand it. We also have the review of the demand. So every month, you need to look at all the demand coming from projects, and maybe even coming from the pipeline, because sometimes we have pipeline project coming in, and we also have projects. In this case, I have two different sources of demand, a pipeline review where we look at the pipeline, and we also look at demand signals from each project on running projects. That's why it has been separated into pipeline review and demand review. Now we need to consolidate. Imagine the picture that one department has a lot of free resources, another department has not. Then the project will not get all resources, but it's actually the most important project in the entire company. So maybe we need to down prioritize a demand signal from one other project and reprioritize those resources in. We do that in the consolidation. So based on the capacity review, here we know exactly how many people is available by role, by department. In the demand review, we know exactly what project needs what resources at what role, at what timing. That could be hours by month, hours by week, but we have the clear capacity and the clear demand picture. Now we will merge those two pictures together in a local consolidation, and we will find out where do we have the gaps. Once we have identified the gap, we will do a global consolidation, taking care of the prioritization of project and secure that the most important project will have the resources needed, and the less prioritized project, they will not get all the resources, or maybe be moved, or maybe be killed. We will do a check-in to the demand owners. So we will contact each of the project manager and tell them, well, you got your resources, you did not get it, you are on pause, or your project has been killed. And overall, we will do a capacity approval, that we will approve all capacity from each department, and we can communicate in a monthly demand and capacity process the key message: these projects got those resources, these project needs to wait. Of course, you could also go into a sourcing mode where you actually start source resources. So based on a gap that you have identified, you can actually go to your sourcing department and in-source resources. Of course, if you have the horizon of up to 18 months in your resource management process, you could also start identify which resources you need to hire into your company. And if you have if you have too many resources, it will be possible to identify which FTEs that you need to let go. To do a demo of this, let's go into the tool again and look at a resource management process where we actually have a request and allocation process around. So first of all, I need a project that I can do the resource management on. So again, I will use my chatbot to create a project. I will create a project. The project will have webinar level 3 to 4. Still in demo mode. And Power PPM will now create a project that I can use for the purpose of the demo. Clicking at the link in the chat, I'll be at the front page of my project. Well, first of all, again, I need to set up my project with some kind of demand signal. And in this case, I will start from the project template. and I will launch a project template that already contains a lot of resource management information. It has already been defined for every capacity group what kind of resources, what individual people has been mapped to the generic resources, so that later on when I do a request and allocation, it will be possible for me to do a match and also look at availability and then allocate people back. Let's start high level, level 0, identify in phase 1 that the template already has some resources connected to. At least we have put in some demand. In my resource heat map, I can identify exactly the workload from the template and also the timing of it. Right now, I can see that no work packages has been created and nothing has been allocated. So now we need to take care of the workload column, but also start doing request and getting people back in my allocation. To do this, let's take the example of this task. It's a workshop task. We have identified that we need, in this case, let's just do it like this, consultancy pools and project managers, 40 hours each. This was also what we did at level 1 and level 2. But what we can do now is actually we could add a resource request for the consultancy pool. And I could identify what department I want the consultancy from. That could be Team OT, Team PHP, etc. But I could also, if I would, just take it directly from the consultancy pool for the entire company, meaning that someone at the other end will monitor the entire group of consultants. So let me just do it like this, for example. I could request 40 hours. That's the entire pool. But I could also say, okay, I actually only want to ask for 20 of them and wait with the other 20. Maybe I did not have the budget yet for asking for all resources. Maybe I only have committed budget for phase 1. So in this case, I could actually, based on the workload that have been identified, ask for a subset of those. In this case here, for my project, I could assign it to a webinar work package, save. At this point, you will see that I have a webinar work package and work that has been not related to work packages. For a second, you also see that in the request column, I can identify that I have requested it, but it has not been sent yet. If I go to my overview of work packages, it will be possible for you to create different work packages. It could be phase 1 work package, save and close. It could be phase 2 work package. In this case, I can actually create different work packages that I will send off for allocation and receive the allocation form. In this case, we just assigned it to the webinar for the entire project. So next step is actually to look at the request process where the request is sent and the allocation is fulfilled. For this purpose, I will show you Team Planner, and Team Planner is the resource management tool for enterprise resource management. Team Planner is a tool for project managers and for the department that should do the allocation. It's also for the department and resource planner to do non-project related resource management. So as a project manager, I can look at resource requests. Its Team Planner is loading, and I can see nothing has been sent yet. What I will do now is that I will go into my work package that has been identified, and I will submit my work package. And once my work package has been submitted, these requests that we associated with the work package will be sent to for requesting. So right now, as you see, you can now identify based on the month that the workshop task had, those hours has now been sent off for an allocation process. The project manager can identify everything is red, meaning nothing has been allocated yet. The allocation column is still empty. Now, for a second, we will switch user and we will focus on the resource planner, because resource planners, they don't care about projects, they care about the department. So as an allocator, I can use Team Planner as a head of a department responsible for resources if I'm a resource planner. And in Team Planner, as you see, I can identify that some projects, in this case, webinar level 3 and 4, they want these hours on this role in my department. If I click here, I can actually identify all the projects that want something in my department. Everything has been red, marked, meaning it's not fulfilled yet. It is a demand that has not been allocated. And if I scroll down, you will also see examples of a project where 27% has been allocated, but I still need to allocate the rest. So it serves as a KPI indicator for me so that I know what kind of projects should I focus on. At every given time, as a resource planner, I can look at all the master data for a project to see how important it is. I can also look at non-project related work. So that could be vacation plan. This is an example where each individual in my department has been added to a vacation plan, and I can type in how many hours by month, and again, all the way down to days where the vacation is. That will leave me with a free capacity calculation that they are overbooked, but then I need to fix it. If I click at individuals, in this case, Andreas, I can see that Andreas is overbooked with 20 hours in my department for August. His total allocation is on those kind of projects. And I can see there are projects, but I can also see there is vacation. So if I need to balance him, I will reduce his vacation to only 10 hours, leaving me with a little plus in his capacity. This way I can balance individual people to have matched the capacity. I can also look at my resource planner. The resource planner is the heat map for my entire department, where I can open up individual people. I can look at the allocation by project, and I can even reduce or replan individuals by project directly in the heat map, serving me for fixing all the red colors to be balanced into a green situation. And again, you can do that on a granularity, hours, FTEs, or directly in the heat map. Let me go back to the allocation, because the project webinar level 3 and 4 has requested resources. So now we need to allocate people. As an allocator, I can identify people that are available for this role. So based on my setup, in this case, I own all resources and all resource groups. But if I only have the authorization to plan consultancy, I could filter this way, and I will only be able to see individual names that are available. So in the time period from August to November, the KPI bar will show if there is availability. And in this case, I could take and drag in Casper to the project, and I'll get a new column being the free capacity of Casper. So if they ask for 3.96 hours in this time period, it will turn green. And now I have done the allocation exactly. I could even chat and send information to the project manager about an allocation, etc. So this way, and very, very simple allocation will be done. Here you see that there is a minus already, so the person has been overbooked already. So if I do an allocation here, the negative will allow me right now to do an overallocation. It can be configured if you're allowed to do overallocation or not. But the project manager should be happy now. So going back to, just need to find the tab. Going back to level 3 and 4 as a project manager and refreshing my screen, I can now see that Casper has been allocated. There's even a chat message, and I can see that some of the hours has been fulfilled in the allocation of it. Now, as a project manager, I will now associate Casper with some work. So I could go into phase 1, into the workshop in here, and I could add, in this case, I could add Casper with some hours to this. This way, I can work with resources in a request allocation process. and I can actually see that people has been assigned and also committed into my project schedule. And now Casper can work on the task and do some progress updates with actual work. So what has been left now? Just looking quickly at reports again. If I am a project manager or head of department, there will be reports available with PowerHub. We have created Team Planner reports, and if I am head of a PMO and want to understand my resource and demand picture, I could run a capacity conversion report like this. I'll just load some demo data and explain you. Right now I'm in company. I'm invoicing hours. That's how my company work. In totally, I have over the entire period 150,000 hours available. We have made 142 hours available for projects. The rest is for non-project related work. The project in itself has only requested around 15,000 hours. So there's a lot of availability in the company right now. And the project has only been allocated with almost 4,000 hours, meaning that the project manager and the resource planners, they need to allocate what is actually requested. If people start doing actual work, I will be identifying as a bar down here how many actual hours is coming into the system. And then I can compare if my project allocation and my time registration match against each other, which will support me for actually doing a balancing and secure that I can invoice towards my invoicing target. Another very important report is a report by department. If I'm a department head, I could launch a report. And this report could look by department. I can filter each department that I have. Now I'll just do it for the entire company. And I could look on a time horizon starting from next month, looking ahead. And here I will have the dotted line, which will be the capacity for my entire company. I could also look at only the project capacity. If I scroll down, I can identify individual people like Core that is overbooked. So Core in my department as a consultant, he is overbooked. If I click at Core, I can identify that he's actually booked for travel and vacation and in which month the hours is. So very, very easily with simple click, I can actually drill down by department. And there's even a report for project managers focusing on their projects and the deltas between request and allocation. So easily I can have a picture, how many resources did I ask for in total? And how many has been fulfilled with allocations. And if I look at the allocation, I can also see the individuals that has been allocated to my project. So the last level is level 5. So let's focusing very fast on level 5 resource management. Level 5 is where we put in what if simulation and balancing, where we move around project at a very, very high level, a company level. That means that the way we can do it is that, as we just saw, we can identify that we have a mismatch between demand and capacity. That could be in a report like this. And what we want to do is actually we want to move some projects to balance out by department, by company, the resource need. So let's look at a demo where we will do a portfolio simulation. For this purpose, we will look at Projectum What If simulation app. I have created here a resource management level 5 simulation scenario. And what we're looking at here is all the timing of all the projects that is running right now, including pipeline projects. In What If tool, I can actually identify the resources and what can go wrong in a live demo. Let me just refresh my screen to secure that the data is available. Launch the scenario. Now you see it. What you can see here is that this is the budget. By year, I have a budget of 100 million, and the blue one is the budget driven by the projects. But talking about resource management, what I can do is that I can look at the resource management heat map, and I can identify that the coding engineers, in this case, they are in minus because there's a red situation. I can plan all the way down to month, and I can identify what projects is actually causing the situation. It will now be possible for me with this project, the bottle creation project. If I take this project and spread over longer time, I will even out the resource management load on those resources. The system will now recalculate the resource need, and it will show it in the heat map how it has been balanced. I can also exclude a project. In this case, by excluding the project, I can move the project in time, and this way it will be possible for me to actually balance the timing of project looking at the demand data being live updated in the heat map. So with that said, a fast recap. You've been looking at the 1 to level 5 resource management. You have the steps needed to fulfill each of the levels, and you also saw Power PPM for level 1 and level 2, and you saw Team Planner and Power PPM for level 3, 4, and you saw a what-if simulation tool at level 5. So thank you for your time, and we will look into the chat. We don't have enough time right now in the Q&A. I'll just look in if there is some questions. But Alf, please reach out to us. I can see there's a question from Sissel. How does it work with approval flows towards department managers for the resources? So I think we saw that in level 3 and level 4, where we actually have a workflow that it will request and they will do an allocation. And it can also be set notification up so that you can receive an email that someone requested something in your department. But thank you for your time, and please feel free to reach out for a more deep dive demo. Hope you have been inspired, and have a great day.